Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder once again with another Reddit story for you from the AITA subreddit. This one is titled, Will I Be the Astronaut If I Asked My Sister Not to Include My Siblings in Her Will? Oh shit. Oh my. I know how this sounds, so bear with me. We're from the same parents, but they're older, 22, 20, 19, and 17, and I was like an only child. I only formed a real relationship with them after college. My oldest sister married a successful man 20 years older. She worked with him. When he turned 60, they retired. She was 40. They live off pensions, Social Security, and interest income, and they have $2 million. They have no kids, and their health is failing. His docs say he has less than a year to live. She has cancer and has about the same. Brother and his wife retired in their 50s after selling her family's business, inherited when her parents died. And they travel and have 2 houses in the US and 1 in Italy. They have 3 kids. Next sister's husband is an exec for a big company. Are you like chipping off pieces of an iceberg over there? Is that what's happening? You're like, this is like the beginning of the Frozen movie where they're making ice out of like the glacier. Next sister's husband is an exec for a big company. They travel with my brother a lot and have 2 homes, 2 kids. Last sister is widowed. Her husband made over $1 million a year. When he died, she told us he left her with about $10 million. She volunteers, chairs a running club, and audits college classes to keep busy. She has 2 kids. I have struggled. In 2014, I got promoted. Then in 2015, the company I was at got bought and I was let go. I found a lower job with a pay cut. I was close to my 2015 salary when the pandemic shut down the new employer. I found a full-time job that was horrible and was lucky to then find another job. I'm employed but making less than 9 years ago. I contribute to my 401k and I'm frugal. I drive a 2015 car and I have some savings. I'm sorry, this company is being bought, so my position will likely go away in 12 to 18 months. I'm sorry, my oldest sis made me executor of their estate, and I'm happy to do it. Their will says everything's split between her siblings. I think about how $500,000 won't change my brothers and sisters' lives, just a little windfall to toss with the rest. For me, life-changing. But the full amount would mean that I can stress a whole lot less about money. I could live the life I've always watched them live. I know I sound entitled and selfish. I'm grateful to be in the will at all, and I know I'm so much more fortunate than so many. It's very hard to be so much younger and so much less successful than my siblings are/were. I ended up with a family full of multimillionaires, and I fear I'll never even get halfway to the point that they are. I'll watch my nieces and nephews inherit their parents' money, and I'll just live my modest life. Jealousy is horrible. I'm thinking of asking my sister about the will and if she's thought about any of this. I'm scared to be too blunt, and I might even chicken out. It feels wrong to ask her to exclude the others, but the money just won't mean very much to them. They're all wealthier than she is. Will I be the astronaut to bring this up? I don't want to seem greedy and ungrateful, but I can't stop thinking about it. Before we get into the top comment and OP's response, what do you think? What are you thinking right now, chat? What are you thinking? Think, yes, F-I-N-K. Amazing artist. Carabytes, YTA, don't do it. I think you definitely shouldn't do this. I mean, I understand. At least OP is acknowledging that, like, yeah, I'm a terrible person for even thinking this. I'm jealous, and that sucks. At least they're honest with themselves about what's happening here. Specifically asking, I know I'm an asshole, but how big of an asshole am I gonna be if and when I do this? Ugh. Donna says, yeah, keep your mouth shut. Michelle Heather, I think she just needs to focus on herself. Don't do it. Just walk away. While we have some other folks being like, you know what? I'm in a similar spot with my family and I sure as shit would ask, do it. So it's interesting seeing the 2 perspectives here. So let's read the top comment and OP's response, and then I'll tell you what I'm thinking. That is a potential solution here. Top comment and OP response. It seems the group has decided you're the asshole. I'd like to take a different position and simply look at this from the position of a personal gain, as you have. Right now, you stand to make $500,000. That's a shitload of money. You can flat out purchase a house with that kind of money. If you ask your sister to give you the full $2 million, one of 3 things will happen. 1, she'll give you the full $2 million. 2, she'll say no, and you'll get the $500,000. 3, she'll be insulted by the lack of gratitude you've shown for being included in the will at all and cut you out of it, giving you a grand total of 0. I would say that 2 is the most likely occurrence, with 1 and 3 being roughly equal in probability. I am loving this commenter. An additional factor that's not listed above is that if you do choose to ask, you'll likely upset the rest of your family, possibly irreparably. So, choose to ask only if you're willing to risk receiving no money and losing contact with your family. Before getting into OP's reply, like, respect, commenter. I'm like, my brain understands this so well. Like, yeah. Commenter, please find me. I'd like to have you do some writing for us. OP's reply, thank you for this. I know that asshole is probably generous. I see that this whole thing could have become my villain origin story. I have no excuse, but by way of explanation, I'm going through an emotional time. My sister is dying, and I have had to deal with it in a very business-like manner. She's telling me her wishes, some in her will, some in a letter to me, and some with the two of us sitting around her kitchen. She handed me a stack of paperwork, including an investment statement with a $2+ million balance and the login and password details to the account. I've been added as an authorized person, and I have full power of attorney. It was overwhelming for so many different reasons, and there were even more emotions in that afternoon than I've ever experienced in my life. I couldn't process everything. In bed that night, the tears came again, along with an escapist fantasy. $2 million, no more work stress, no more money problems. I could be in a villa in another country sipping wine and eating cheese. I think my brain was trying to take me away from reality. Reality was the place where my sister was dying, the place where I was responsible to hold it together, to not let my emotions get the better of me, to treat it in a business-like way and be logical about everything. I'm glad that I came here. I've said in other comments that I knew I was wrong, or I wouldn't have asked the question in the first place. You don't need validation for things that you're certain of. The comments were all aligned. I was absolutely the asshole. No question, no wiggle room. No asking for clarification on this or that point. It was like a bucket of ice water to my face, and it woke me up from my escapist fantasies and brought me back to reality, which right now is a horrible place to be. But it's a place I need to be, and a place that I need to learn to be strong in, if I'm going to be there for my sister and make her comfortable and secure in the knowledge that life will go on, and that we'll all remember her in our own amazing, loving ways. Would I love a few $1 million? Absolutely. Would I rather have my sister for another 20 years? There are no words positive and vehement enough to answer that. I had an internal struggle for about 48 hours, but I'm back now, in large part thanks to strangers on the internet. My focus is on my family. I need a drink, but
Self-reflection for the win.
I don't know how much of this moment where OP got to is because of that commenter. But I feel like the commenter laid it out in a very easy to understand way, at least for me. I feel like seeing it like that and looking at the possible paths and looking at the probability of the possible paths is a great way to look at it. Obviously, that's kind of what we do here. So I really like the way that they broke it down and looked at everything there, and OP getting to this moment and saying like, yep, okay, that's what I needed to hear. I understand, and it just sucks, but I understand. And that's what I thought. I thought I was going to be the asshole. So just the whole thing, thing, all of it, except for the hard words part, like fantastic. Really dig this story. And you know what? OP asked this in the beginning, would I be the asshole for doing this? Confirmed. And because of that, now they're not the asshole because they didn't do it. I understand it's probably a really tough position to be in, but I also got to admit an idea that, okay, one of the potential solutions here, if she still wanted to open up a path to maybe get to that point, would be one of two things. One, do not ask your sibling to exclude your other siblings, but I would open up a conversation about what her thoughts are, or what her wishes are, specifically as it relates to the money side, and be like, what are you wanting to accomplish with what you're leaving behind? And then you can at least understand where she's coming from. And I'm not saying you should persuade her in any way, shape, or form, but being able to understand what her wishes are may help you frame the context easier. And I can also see a possibility where an individual that had some specific missions in life would want to name one administrator of the estate to continue those missions without assets being divided. So it'd be essentially like if they ran their life like a charitable organization, and they wanted to keep contributing to these specific charities, their household becomes essentially an estate, and that estate continues to fund those things, but they would need someone, maybe you, to be able to carry out those missions for them. So a couple of possible paths, however unlikely, and I do not think that you should, like, in any way, shape, or form, even hint or try to point her to the possibility of excluding your siblings. But there's another path or two that still get you to the dream life that you think you want to have. Not selfishly, though.